From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Well, good evening and welcome to Open Line. I'm Chuck Long, glad to be here with you for the next hour. Tonight it's Ask the Expert, and we're going to be talking about medical malpractice. And I've got an interesting statistic here just for the top of the show. According to the American Medical Association, the Journal of the American Medical Association, medical negligence is the third leading cause of death in the U.S. behind heart disease and cancer. That's a staggering statistic, very interesting there. So we're going to be talking about medical malpractice. We're going to be talking with attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm. Always good to have Clint here with us. He is the expert in this area. And as always, this is your forum. So when you have a question or a comment, you want to give us a call. The number is 737-7587 right here on Open Line. So I do want to now welcome Clint Kelly. Always great to see you, Clint.
It's good to see you too, Chuck. That's a mind-boggling statistic too, isn't it, when you think about it?
And it really is.
And those are just the deaths. Those aren't the people who are left behind, the people who survive and are left with disabilities.
Well, and I think that's what, when people start to realize, you know, obviously no one wants something to happen to them, you know, whether they're under the hospital, under the doctor's care, that kind of thing. But things do happen. And that's why that really kind of brought it home when I saw that statistic, because I thought, you know, that really makes you aware that you need to be aware and you need to know what to do in that situation.
That's right. And that's probably, that statistic is something that has grown worse over the last 20 years. It used to be that the literature was about 98,000 people were dying per year, and we're now well over 250,000 people a year. There are a lot of different reasons for that, but primarily I believe the way that our health system has evolved over the last 20 years. Some would say decision making's been dumbed down and systemized, and because of that people get caught in the middle, and unfortunately when something really bad happens, that's when I get called.
Well, and one of the things that we hope to do in this hour is to educate people as to what to do in a situation, because a lot of times that is the hard part, is that you're not sure what to do. And as always, one of the things that we love about Open Line, when we say that it is your forum, you may know someone who is in this situation. You can call them, tell them to turn the television on, watch for the next hour, and again, if they have questions or comments, to please call us at 615-737-7587. We like to get the dialogue going, to hear from you. What are your thoughts? Even, you know, a lot of times I think people, when they're watching, they think, you know, well, I'm not sure if this question is going to apply, but call, find out. That's what we want to do. Talk about that.
The call's free. So is the advice. That's what I'm here for, is to give advice to the public.
And you know, Clint, too, I think it's very important. The specialty of your area, is I was just reading, and we've of course done the show numerous times, but I always like to kind of read up and see some new things that are going on. But one of the things that always intrigues me is the fact that you have to be an expert in this area really to know truly what to do, the ins and outs, and that's what your firm does.
That's correct. We're probably, our firm is one of a small number of other firms that do this type of work exclusively. And when I say a small number, there are those of us that represent patients, and there are also those of us who represent the hospitals and doctors. And typically the bigger firms hire the attorneys to represent the doctors and the hospitals, and I'm a smaller firm, and a lot of us that do represent patients are from smaller firms, and we have to be very particular about the cases that we take because of that.
Well, and one of the things, too, when you think about medical negligence, it could happen in a doctor's office, it could happen in a dentist's office, it could happen at the hospital. There are a number of places, so kind of walk me through some of the areas where medical negligence does occur.
Well, hospitals are a primary place. That's probably the most common place where you're going to see a serious medical mistake, because those people are typically sick, and also that's where there are a lot of nurses and other type of staff involved. And in my experience, the worst types of injuries, the people who become paralyzed, or people who are rendered vegetables, or people who lose organs or limbs, it's during a surgical procedure or post-operative type of situation. So hospitals tend to be the worst.
And what constitutes medical malpractice?
The easiest way I know to describe it is it's a bad mistake that causes bad injuries. You put those two together and you've got a claim that should be investigated by a medical expert, and that's how I have them investigated. Is I will read a summary of what happened, and if I think the case warrants further investigation, I'll send it to a doctor.
Well, and you know, our viewers may be watching tonight and sitting, you know, wondering, is it hard? Because I would think a lot of times if you think that something, or if something did happen to you and you're wondering whether or not you can take action, a lot of times it almost feels like, I would think, that you're going up against such monumental odds with the big guys being the hospitals and the healthcare industry and that sort of thing. What do you tell someone that calls and says, it's almost like a David versus Goliath situation?
Well, it can be, but part of my job is to try to equalize those odds by hiring the best experts that I can hire, taking the best cases that I can take, and believing in the morality and the purpose of the cause. I mean, there is such a thing as justice, Chuck. That's what we try to achieve. And monetary justice and holding doctors and hospitals accountable is what I strive to do. And yes, it can be difficult. Sometimes it is a David and Goliath situation, but I try to even the odds as much as I can by making the best moves that I can for my clients to get them compensation.
All right. Well, as always on Open Line, it's your forum, and we're going to go to the lines right now. So I think we have Evelyn on the line with us. Evelyn, good evening. Glad that you're watching. And do you have a question or a comment for Clint Kelly?
Well, I have two questions. The first question is that I'm kind of confused. I don't know if my case is a malpractice case or not. And what it is that I had 2 partial hip replacements, and I know I have been contacted because they said they had a recall or something, but now I'm having a lot of medical issues and I have to have both my hips totally replaced. So I don't know if that's a malpractice or if that's something else.
When did you get notice of the recalls, Evelyn?
It's been about a year ago.
And who's the manufacturer of the hip?
I believe they said Johnson & Johnson.
All right.
Or something like that.
And are they telling you, or have they told you, that you need to have those hips replaced because of a defect in the implant itself?
Yes, and I guess because they had got notified because I have been so sick and I've been having a whole lot of problems. So I guess they found out because I was still going to the same hospital. So I guess they contacted me to let me know that I need to get checked. And I recently did, and they're saying that I have to have both my hips totally replaced.
All right. Has the physician told you why those hips need to be replaced?
It didn't make any sense, and I really didn't understand him. So he did, but I didn't understand what it meant, what he was saying.
Have you contacted a lawyer yet?
I did, and when the first thing they were talking about is how much money they were going to charge, and it just sounded like a whole lot, and I just said, never mind, because actually the doctor told me a couple of weeks ago that I had to have both of them replaced. So this is all recent to me, so I don't know what to do now.
Well, Evelyn, why don't you call my office tomorrow morning, and the phone number's 824-3703, and when you call, please...
Give it to me again.
Sure, 615-824-3703, and the phone number's up on the screen. And when you call in, you ask to speak to my nurse, and her name is Kathy Farrell. I'll just say Nurse Kathy.
Okay.
And you tell her what happened to you tomorrow. She'll send me a report, and I'll let you know, or someone from my office will let you know whether we think you have a case and can go forward with it. I appreciate you calling.
Thank you so very much.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much, Evelyn. And that's exactly, I think, one of the best things about this show is the fact that you can be out there watching, you have the questions, and the beauty of calling, a firm like Clint's, the Kelly firm, is it costs nothing to call.
That's right. And it sounds like what she was describing, Chuck, is a product liability claim, and we do handle hip claims. There have been some problems with the way hips have been manufactured by certain manufacturers like Smith & Nephew and Johnson & Johnson, Dupuis. I don't know if her case falls in that category, but some of them involve defective metals, some involve defective designs, but we have a consultant nurse on staff who works with us every day who's in tune with those types of cases and products, and she can give an analysis, and we can then determine whether we can take the case. But you're exactly right. It costs Evelyn nothing to make that phone call, and it doesn't cost her anything unless we recover money for her.
Okay, well, that is very good to know. We are talking about medical malpractice throughout the hour. This is Ask the Expert Hour here on Open Line, and we are talking to attorney Clint Kelly from the Kelly firm. We're going to take a break. When we come back, more Open Line, so come on back with us.